Welcome to Thursday Thought Leaders with Harbinder Narula. My guest today is Dr. David Albert, who is a founder at AliveCor Inc. He has been an inventor and a serial entrepreneur through his life. He started Corazonics in 1985 and then sold to Arrhythmia Research Technologies in 1991. He then started a company called Data Critical in 95, went public in 1999, and then finally sold it to GE Healthcare in 2001. He worked as a chief scientist at GE Cardiologies until 2004 before he became an entrepreneur once again. He started another company, branched into three different verticals, and finally he started AliveCor in 2010 with an intention to commercialize my smartphone ECG as an invention which was the earliest and the most clinically validated digital health invention. Let's speak to Dr. David Albert about his journey and the vision that he has for AliveCor. Welcome, Dr. Dave, to BW Healthcare World. Welcome to the Thursday Thought Leaders show. I believe that most innovations are a result of some instances or defining moments in people's lives. Is there some story in your life that makes your journey more purpose-driven than just business?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, there is. I graduated from Duke University Medical School in 1981, but in 1980, my father, who lived to be 91, had a heart attack. And I just happened to be home. It was a break from school. And so I went up to the university hospital where he was being cared for. And when they discharged him, they said, okay, now we need you to start walking, cardiac rehab, up until you get your heart rate to 120 beats a minute and then stop, just stop. So it's heart rate limited. And the problem was there were no Apple Watches, chest straps. There were no heart rate monitors at the time. So I went back to school and I asked one of my classmates if he knew of anybody in the engineering school. He had been an engineer as an undergraduate at Duke, biomedical engineering. And he said, yeah, I've got a friend of mine who was my classmate who is in grad school at Duke in biomedical engineering, became a PhD, became faculty at Tulane, I think. And he said, he can probably do it. So I took $200. Now in 1980, $200, that meant I was eating ramen noodles for like 3 months, okay? And I gave this guy $200 to build me something. And he came back with a board with a bunch of wires on it. He said, well, it doesn't work, but that's all I'm gonna work on it for $200. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is for my dad. And so that really inspired me. I then went to the dean of the medical school and the dean of the engineering school. And I said, I want to take a leave of absence from medical school and become an engineer. And so I spent 2.5 years in engineering school at Duke, finished medical school, and already had 2 inventions, sold one, an ultrasound machine and a wrist-based heart rate monitor. And I licensed those. And that began my career as a medical inventor. It was not planned. I was planning on just becoming an academic cardiologist, but that plan got diverted because of that specific incidence. And so I look back at that and I go, if that hadn't happened in exactly the way it did, I wouldn't be here today. AliveCor wouldn't be my company. The Cardias wouldn't be my invention. And I've had 30 years more, actually 35 years of medical inventing and entrepreneurship, and it came from that incident, that personal event. And today, I've started 4 companies. I sold my last one to General Electric, big presence there in India. And I was the chief scientist of GE Cardiology for 3 years back in the early 2000s after they bought my company. And today, AliveCor again has a partnership with GE Healthcare, as well as with Omron, maker of blood pressure cuffs. I have one over here. Qualcomm, the maker of cell phone chips that go in all your cell phones, all the Android cell phones. So we've the basic idea of personal monitoring was one that dates back to 1980. So 43 years ago that I became interested in personal cardiac monitoring. And today, AliveCor is no longer a little company. We're a global company with a lot of revenue and expanding strongly. And we have, no competition, just small companies, Apple, Google, Samsung, little teeny startups that are our competition, but we continue to thrive. So I think this journey is, people come to me all the time, Harbinder, and say, how do I do what you did? And I go, well, you're going to do your own journey. You're not going to do what I did. These are young doctors, even older doctors say, I want to use my medical skills to become an entrepreneur. And I go, well, then follow your own journey.
Yes. So Dr. Dave, so many years later, from your first step of inventing a device, everybody evolves in personality. What do you consider yourself today? Are you more of an inventor at heart or more of an entrepreneur?
No, I'm an inventor. My kids would say my dad's no longer a doctor. He's a mad scientist. They've said that for a long time, actually. They're all grown, and we have 4 children, all grown. We have grandchildren, my wife and I. Been married 39 years. My anniversary was last week. But what I will tell you is I'm an inventor at heart. I'm always looking for how to develop new innovations, how to solve problems. I mean, that's what it's all about. If you're a successful inventor, you've solved a problem. And in medicine, we have lots of challenges all the time. I came to Chennai several years ago, right before the pandemic, and I visited several hospitals, visited their head cardiologists, went into their coronary intensive care units, and they said to me, arrhythmias are an issue, but the real issue is heart attacks. And we have all these little villages, and we need to get these people in here, and we need to have them come in as quickly as possible so that we can treat them appropriately and save their lives. And so that got me back thinking we need to do something about that. And sometime in this next year or so, AliveCor will be bringing out a new product that is the result of that trip to your country and the challenges that those doctors made to me. That was a problem. And again, solving a problem is what inventors do.
Dr. Dave, whenever you come up with a new product that is solving some problem, there's a perception on how it is going to be received by people, by professionals in that industry. So was there any pushback that you felt from the players in the healthcare industry, or from, for that matter, the nurses, the doctors? Any pushback that became a challenge?
Well, I mean, yes. In the beginning, I was at a medical meeting in the United States, and I was giving a presentation, and this is in 2012, on our new smartphone EKG device. And after my talk, a gentleman raised his hand, got up to ask a question, and he said, "Yes, Dr. Albert, but this is just a 1-lead ECG. It's not a 12-lead ECG, which is what we use conventionally." And by the way, at the time, the moderator of this session was maybe the world's most famous cardiologist, Dr. Eugene Braunwald from the Brigham Hospital, wrote the book Heart Disease, is literally a 92-year-old. He was probably only 82 years old then, a cardiologist. And I was like shocked. And then I said, "You're absolutely right, sir. However, how many leads does it take for an internal defibrillator or an external defibrillator to decide that it needs to save your life?" And he said, "1," and he sat back down. And I said, "Yeah, this is not a 12-lead ECG, but I read the book, The Innovator's Dilemma by the late Clayton Christensen, very famous book in business. And in it, he says, innovations, disruptive innovations, come from below, from products that aren't as sophisticated, aren't as expensive. And that's how established businesses become disrupted, whether it's a digital equipment or a Kodak. These are companies that had personal computers or digital. I mean, Kodak invented digital cameras, yet they did not want to disrupt their own business models. And so therefore they were disrupted themselves, and those companies have gone. They were huge companies. And so we see that every day in the cell phone business. You had Nokia and Motorola, and they thought that thing that Steve Jobs introduced in 2007, that no keyboard, they don't know what they're doing there. That's a joke. We know where those companies are. So this is an understood norm of how you disrupt an industry. And that is, you go from below with a product, and it continues as technology evolves to get more and more sophisticated until suddenly it's as good or better than what was there, and you disrupt an existing player.
I totally agree with you, Dr. Dave. And, like you said, that the product becomes more sophisticated with passage of time, and more, the product gets evolved. How has been the journey for what you created at AliveCor, and how has been the acceptance of this latest technology by the physicians?
Well, we now have well over 200 peer-reviewed journal articles, studies all over the world, including in India, all over the world, validating our technology, using it in various clinical applications. And of course, we've continued to innovate. Our latest innovation is this little device, which is a credit card ECG. It's cardiomobile card, literally the size of a credit card, and can fit in your wallet with your other cards. And we've pushed our AI. So everybody talks about generative AI and ChatGPT, and this is a revolution. We've been working on our AI for years. The chairman of our board is a very famous Indian immigrant to the United States, Mr. Vinod Khosla. He's the chairman of AliveCor's board, and he's been pushing us on developing and improving our AI for 10 years, and we continue to do so, and now have over 209 million ECGs in our cloud database that we can use for training our deep neural network models and developing and improving our AI. So we continue to continuously innovate. And the nice thing is, because we utilize a smartphone or a tablet, we can improve the performance of our device without anyone doing anything, with simply an app upgrade. And that's very powerful innovation. We can give you new applications, new performance, new accuracy, without the user having to buy anything new. And so we consider our mission to provide cardiology care anywhere, anytime, when you're not in front of a cardiologist, which is 99% of the time. And so, that's our mission. And using technology and services, AI, innovations in hardware and software, that's how we plan on doing it and continue to do it.
Dr. Dave, I saw that credit card sized device. Now, that's a brilliant piece of innovation. But seeing in India the high incidence of heart attacks that we see here, a lot of medical professionals prefer a complete 12-lead ECG, and you've addressed this issue earlier as well. And a lot of people have inhibitions around the 6-lead ECG device. In which particular conditions do you think cardiomobile 6-lead could be used in a clinic and could be used to prescribe medication and treatment to the patients?
Well, you're absolutely right. There has been resistance, and the doctors, cardiologists are used to a 12-lead ECG, and certainly in cardiac ischemia. I can tell you that we are just finishing a study, a cooperative study that led by a doctor out of Leeds in the UK, but it involves 6 centers in Africa where we use the 6-lead ECG, a little different way of using it to see if we can diagnose heart attacks. But, people should understand that AliveCor, again, we've talked about continuous innovation, that AliveCor started off with a single lead ECG and then had a 6-lead ECG. And I can tell you, maybe we see an opportunity for a 12-lead ECG. But if we do that, I can guarantee you it'll be disruptive, it'll be revolutionary, And I'd say, maybe you don't have to wait that long to see an innovation like that. And, we again want to solve problems, and delivering the information you get from a 12 lead ECG anywhere in the world at a low cost, able to put it in your pocket, sounds like the type of problem that AliveCor thrives on solving.
So, Dr. Dave, India is a very unique country, and I'm going to keep my conversation around
the largest country.
Absolutely. And one of the challenges that we face is that, the access to healthcare in rural parts of our country. What would be the best utilization of AliveCor's technology in India, and where you could be making a big impact, looking at creating access, ensuring a quality, and also making it affordable?
Well, it starts with the third point there, affordability. So you have to make it inexpensive so that it can be used with those $30 Android phones that are available in India, okay, or in rural China. They're not going to buy $1,000 iPhones. They're not going to buy $1,000 Samsungs. They're going to buy what would have been a very powerful smartphone just 3 or 4 years ago, but today costs $30. We need to be able to utilize that technology, connect that information back to the cities where the large, sophisticated hospitals exist, and be able to provide biometric technology that utilizes those smartphones to connect the data and do it at a price that can be afforded anywhere in the world, in India, in Africa, in South America, throughout the world where there are rural populations, billions of people who live at a very low economic level. We need to bring the technology there. And that's one of our passions and one of our missions. And so I can tell you, today in the United States, we have the lowest cost single lead ECG device in our KardioMobile. And that's a benefit that we want to continue to push. The price of that device continues to go down, and I see that trend continuing, and that will be beneficial to all parts of the world, but certainly to those which need a very low cost solution. The good news is the sophistication, the accuracy is bits, not atoms. And so when we can put that AI, when we can put that sophistication into that $30 Android phone, we can deliver quality, accurate biometric healthcare anywhere in the world. And so I'm very optimistic. Even at my advanced age, I remain a technology optimist and think that we're going to be able to address some of these access questions. In the United States, in most of what people call the developed world, and India has both, by the way, as you know, you've got the most sophisticated places and you have the most rural places. And so a huge country with both of those. You can run into tigers and you can run into supercomputers. Okay. We don't have that here in the US. We got moose and mountain lions, but we don't have any tigers. What I will tell you is we have a problem with the cost of healthcare in the United States. It's just incredibly expensive. And in India, you have cost, but access, because low cost and access have been in conflict. We aim to solve both problems, both the cost problems here in the United States and in Europe, and the access problems in the rest of the world. And we see technology, our services as enabling that.
Right. And Dr. Dave, when I look at your device from AliveCor, I see two use cases. One is the clinicians, the physicians who use it for their patients. But apart from that, when we look at India, apart from the cardiac problems, we also have a very large population of diabetics who have the potential, who are potential heart patients of tomorrow. A lot of these people should be keeping this device with them, to prevent a problem. And but they also have wearable devices like an Apple Watch or such kind of devices, wearables. What, in your honest opinion, is the reliability of these wearables, and how does a LiveCore product be a better fit for these people?
Well, we've been in the wearable business, and so I think I'm hopeful that wearable biometric technology will continue to improve in sophistication and decrease in cost. Again, the same issue: an Apple Watch costs $300, and by the way, you need an iPhone to use it. It's not going to work with that $30 Android phone. And so there's a cost barrier. But the good news is the Chinese are very innovative. And I'm sure in India, you're very innovative at developing lower cost solutions for wearables. And so I see whether it's, a lot of efforts going into wearable, non-invasive glucose. Today, the continuous glucose monitors from people like Dexcom and Abbott are very expensive, and so are not amenable to people who can't afford those technologies. And so hopefully that will follow the same path. I mean, we all talk about Moore's law. I think that's the benefit. The sophistication of integrated circuits, VLSI technologies, software, AI, hopefully continues to push the prices down, because it will continue to push the costs down. And so I'm optimistic again that whether it's glucose monitoring or cardiac monitoring, that wearables will play an increasingly important role in having people monitor themselves and be aware if something is changing and if they're developing a problem.
And Dr. Dave, what kind of support do you think a AliveCor needs in India, whether it is from the medical fraternity, from the government, some policies, to make a AliveCor a success as you have envisioned for India?
Well, I think, I'm not an expert on India. I leave that to Lokesh, who runs our Indian business, and some of our other people there. We have a large development team in Bangalore who are just outstanding and help drive our business from an R&D perspective. I would tell you, I think it's all of those things, but you know what's most important? Time. It took time for AliveCor. If I showed you our revenue from 2012, and then it went like this. Okay, there's that hockey stick that people talk about. And, it had a slope. It was going up, but it wasn't a very high slope. And then it went up dramatically. And I think that you reach this concept of a tipping point. And I think the more research that comes out, the more doctors who become familiar and comfortable with our technologies, the more experiences they have, the better it'll happen. And it won't happen overnight. So we've made an investment in India and will continue to do so in research. And as I told you, we continue to innovate our products. And I think, we have partners like GE Healthcare has a big presence in India. And the person who runs their cardiology business is a gentleman named Ashutosh Banerjee, came from India. And he is committed to working with us, to pushing our technologies and solving some of these problems in India, like the problems of diagnosing heart attacks quickly, solving these critical clinical problems and taking advantage of the fact that India has first world healthcare, but it's just not evenly distributed.
So, Dr. Dave, we are living in an information age. People have access to general information on health, which may come from trusted sources such as doctors, or may also come from other sources which may not be as trusted, could be like people who are just trying to get attention. But there's another set of information which is now becoming very important, which is the information of the intelligent data of your own self, which is available with you. And that is creating an environment of prevention, precaution, and personalization of health management. What is your vision, keeping in mind the importance of data? And like you said, AI will be used to use this intelligent data for
Absolutely.
the future. What's the future?
Well, there's a concept of digital twin. So we're going to see people, whether I take my blood pressure over here, take my ECG, take my glucose reading, and those will all be combined, my weight, my skin color, all of these things will be combined, and the AI will look at your health status and health trajectory. And what it'll do is it will predict where you're going. And in medicine, prediction is the same as prevention. We will, your genomic information ultimately will be utilized, and all of this biometric data on you personally will be able to give you feedback about your status trajectory that will enable you to, one, live a lifestyle that optimizes your health, and two, gives you the information to know when to contact your healthcare provider, your physician, for the needs you may have to prevent something bad happening. And so I see all of that personal health data. It's the data of me. And so the world of data of me, and then I will be compared, analyzed to millions of other people. And my trajectory will be associated with those who most closely mimic me in all these various parameters. And that will give some just phenomenal insights that I think we'll utilize to prevent bad things from happening, whether it's a heart attack, a stroke, a diabetic incident.
So Dr. Dave, that brings me to my last question, which is that what is your message to the cardiology community in the country, cardiologists, cardiophysicians? What would be your message to them as an inventor of a device that aims to help people live?
Well, I would tell you that I would say to those people that they need to have an open mind about innovation and technology. And about one thing that people have been reluctant about is the data that is sourced by a patient themselves. They're used to having patients come in and they run all the tests on them and they create the data. And now we have the revolution of wearables, personal devices like Cardia, and the patients come to them and say, well, I'm in atrial fibrillation. What are we going to do? And I think they need to lose the reluctance of accepting that data and understand that it can be utilized to provide better care for their patients, which is their goal, all of our goal as physicians.
Dr. Dave, it has been such a beautiful conversation. The excitement and enthusiasm that I sense in the conversation is a true sign of an inventor who's itching to solve the next problem. And that is such a beautiful feeling. And that's the sense that I get from you. And my biggest takeaway from this conversation is what you said, that prediction is the same as prevention. I
That's
think
correct.
it's a very, very big message out there for the healthcare community to take this as a mantra for what they should be doing. So thank you so much for taking our time to speak with us.
Harbinder, thank you for this opportunity. And from my origin story as an inventor to, prediction is prevention. I wanted it to be a more general conversation about what cardiologists can do, what patients can do, and how together we can improve health and improve outcomes. And so that, to me, I think we had a successful conversation on that.